Hi everyone, this is Teacher Ratel, and today I will be discussing about planning for portfolio assessment. Portfolio assessment is a purposeful, systematic process of collecting and evaluating student assessments to document progress toward the achievement of learning targets. In planning and implementing portfolio assessment, there are steps that we need to consider. And these steps, according to Macmillan 2018, are the following. First, we need to determine the purpose. Then, identify physical or digital structure of our portfolio. Determine contents. Determine student self-reflective guidelines and scoring criteria. Then we need to review these with our students. Then, we supply the content, either by the teacher or by the student. Afterwards is the student self-evaluation of contents, followed by teacher evaluation of contents, then lastly, the student-teacher conference. Designing a portfolio begins with a clear idea about the purpose of assessment. And the purpose involves both the specific learning targets and the proposed use of the portfolio contents. Portfolios are ideal for assessing product, skill, and reasoning targets, and for enhancing desired student dispositions. This is especially true for multidimensional skills such as writing, reading, and problem solving. Samples of student work, like writing samples, can be included in the portfolio and can help assess students' writing skills. Portfolio assessment is also useful in assessing critical thinking, metacognitive, and decision-making skills. Portfolio contents can help assess various thinking skills of students. It is therefore necessary to align or match the contents of the portfolio to the content area standards and the 21st century skills and dispositions. The purpose of the portfolio will influence the contents and the criteria used for evaluation. Portfolios are usually implemented for multiple purposes. Because time and energy are limited, we try to identify a primary purpose and design the portfolio based on that purpose. For example, if the primary purpose is to document typical student work and progress, the portfolio will be highly individualized and relatively loosely organized collection of samples selected by both the teacher and the student. On the other hand, if the portfolios are used primarily for demonstrating competence on curriculum standards, there will be greater standardization about what to include and how the portfolios are reviewed, and most samples are selected by the teacher, meaning, with this purpose, guidelines should be standardized or the same and apply to all students. If the primary purpose is to illustrate what students are capable of doing, then the orientation is more toward a celebration type of portfolio. Only the student's best work is included, and the emphasis is on student selection, self-reflection, and self-assessment. In the growth portfolio, improvement over time is shown by comparing early artifacts with later ones. And growth is demonstrated by comparing the two products using the same criteria on the previous and on the recent portfolio assessment. Some portfolios are used to show parents and others what students have achieved. If this is the primary purpose, more attention needs to be given to what will make sense to parents. We include in the portfolio what we think best describes the strengths and weaknesses of their children and evidences of student work that can be easily interpreted by the parents. The specific nature of portfolio assessment differs depending on the importance of these various purposes. As a consequence, determining the primary purpose is very important. The next step is identifying physical or digital structure. Once your purpose has been determined, you need to think about some practical aspects of the portfolio. Paper-based portfolio content is printed and put in envelopes or folders. What should the portfolio look like? How large do the folders need to be? What is the actual arrangement of the documents in the portfolio? Is it done chronologically, by subject area, or by type of document? What materials will be needed to separate the documents? These are the things that we need to consider. On the other hand, digital structure is varied depending on whether you use an established platform or program or if you design your own. Typically, the structure is either contained in an application or software program with links to various artifacts and often will be stored in a cloud or online with a company that provides the format. Blogs, easily designed by teachers, can also be used for digital portfolios. And after identifying the physical or digital structure, we need to determine the nature of the content. The content of a portfolio consists of work samples and student-teacher evaluations. Work samples are usually derived directly from instructional activities and are determined to some extent by the subject. For example, in language arts, you could use entries from student journals, book reports, and poetry. In science, on the other hand, you might include lab reports, solutions to problems, videos, and pictures of different science projects. We need to select categories of samples that will allow you to meet the purpose of the portfolio. For example, if you need to show progress, select tasks and samples that can show improvement, such as drafts of student work. If you need to provide feedback to students on the procedures they use in putting together a report, be sure to include a summary of that process as part of the portfolio. There are many ways to organize a portfolio, and a good portfolio, according to Basal et al. 2003, may it contain the following parts. The first part is the unifying themes for the portfolio. Students choose a unifying theme or style to tie their portfolio pages together. These can be done graphically or by using a consistent border design or logo, or verbally by using a quotation. The next part is the cover or the cover page, which may list the following. It should have a unifying theme. It should be attractive, and it should include specific information such as the title, name of the student, school year, and the subjects included in the portfolio. The next is the statement to the reader. Each student writes a letter, poem, or other introductory material that serves as an invitation to read the portfolio, as well as explanation of the purpose and contents. Writing these pieces gives students an opportunity to reflect on what they have accomplished and to celebrate the learning that has occurred. The next part is the table of contents. Student lists the titles and page numbers of everything included, which enables students to check their organization. It should be included at the end of the process. Next are the dividers. These may be used to separate subjects or to identify categories such as completed work, work in progress, or artwork. Allow students flexibility in organizing their portfolios. The dividers can match the style of the cover and can help give the portfolio a finished look. Next are the content pieces. The major ingredients in a portfolio are the content pieces, the actual pieces of students' work, or what we call the artifacts. And lastly, we have the content reflection, reader comment page, and teacher comment page. Portfolio should include the overall reflection of the student and the page for the teachers where they can write their comments about the portfolio of the student and the performance of the student as a whole. The next step is to determine student self-reflective guidelines and scoring criteria. You need to establish guidelines for student reflection and the scoring criteria you will use when evaluating student performance. These should be done so that both the guidelines and criteria can be explained to students before they begin their work. In many cases, students can be involved in the development of self-reflective guidelines and scoring criteria. By working on these together, students will develop greater ownership of the process and will have experience in working collaboratively with the teacher. And these are the examples of portfolio contents adopted from Macmillan 2018. So we have here on the left side, we have the secondary history portfolio, which include the quizzes and chapter tests, the annotated bibliography of sources, the research reports, the map of Revolutionary War battles, the video reenactment of the historical event, the essays, the multimedia presentations, the journal entries, and the reflection. On the right, portfolio contents, we have for the elementary language arts, we have the homework quizzes and chapter tests, the summary of main ideas of 3 different types of genres of books, completion of reading checklists, examples of initial and final drafts of 2 fictional short stories. We have the research paper. We have an example of a poem, the log of reactions to reading books, and the reflection indicating what reading and writing products and activities have had the greatest meaning to the student. So again, your portfolio contents will depend on the subject, will depend on the purpose of your portfolio. And that ends our presentation on planning for portfolio assessment, and the key points that we have to remember. Planning for portfolio assessment includes the identification of learning targets and uses, physical structures, content, guidelines for student reflection, and scoring criteria. And here are the references used for this video. And thank you for watching, and hope this video helps. Stay safe and healthy always, and see you in my next videos.